Here are 7 home buying tips nobody tells you that will save you a lot of money. Don't you hate it when somebody says, "Why did you do that? I could have told you not to do that." Well, hello, Sherlock. I've been here the whole time. Why didn't you just tell me? I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen for you with the home buying process. I have almost 25 years of experience as a loan officer, and I'm with the largest national mortgage brokerage in the U.S. I'm going to share 7 of my very best tips that will not only save you money now during the home buying process, but long after closing. Let's start with tip number 1. Start with a mortgage pre-approval. Yeah, you heard me. Start with the loan officer. Get pre-approved for your loan before you ever start looking at properties. Once you're pre-approved, you'll get a pre-approval letter, and that shows buyers that you're serious about buying a home. It also shows that you've done your due diligence and you're ready to go. You can negotiate a much shorter closing period, and oftentimes sellers will welcome that and negotiate way more with you on price. Also, once you get pre-approved, a good lender can actually fully underwrite you as a borrower. What that means in my world is that I would take your loan file and all of your supporting documentation, your pay stubs, your bank statements, your W-2s, tax returns, all of the personal documents that you give me, and we would put it in front of the underwriter. And he or she would actually fully approve you as the borrower. Then what happens is when you go under contract, all we have to do is submit the property documents to the underwriters, and they'll review the sales contract, the appraisal, and ask any questions in regards to that, and then we can close you even quicker. So getting pre-approved not only reassures you that you're looking at the right price range of homes, but really gives you an edge on negotiating with the sellers. Number 2, you need to have some money set aside to buy a house. I know people think that there is all of this free money out there, but there really isn't. Nothing is free. There is a cost for all of it. Now, if you have the ability to use a USDA loan or a VA loan, then you really can come to closing with 0% down, but there are closing costs. If you can get the seller to pay for those closing costs or get a credit from the realtor or the lender, then you actually could come to closing with very close to $0 out of pocket. In reality, people think that there are first-time buyer home loan programs out there or down payment assistance programs that's going to give them money for free for a down payment, and that's the end of the story. Here's how it really works. A lot of cities, counties, and states do offer down payment assistance, especially for first-time home buyers, but there are a lot of strings attached. Just recently, I was helping one of my borrowers navigate this with a state program, and as a first-time home buyer, they thought they were going to walk away with $15,000 in free money as down payment assistance. Well, once I read the fine print and helped them understand, what was really happening is, first of all, there was a $1,500 fee to even access the program. So at closing, they would be paying $1,500 to be able to get $15,000 in free money. Well, what comes next? Well, in this particular program, for the first 5 years of owning the home, if you sold the house, you owed back every dollar of the $15,000 plus interest. You didn't have to make a payment on that $15,000, but interest would accrue. And anytime in those first 5 years, if you sold that house, you would owe principal plus interest back to the state. Now, once you got into years 6 through 15, the loan was forgiven at a prorated amount. So until you actually lived in that house for 15 years, that $15,000 was nowhere close to free. Here's the thing, guys. Every program has a different set of rules, and that's because whatever agency is offering this money out can do it however they want. So you've really got to read the fine print. But I'm telling you, after almost 25 years in this business, I have only used some sort of down payment assistance money for my clients maybe 10 times. Maybe. That's how many times it doesn't make sense. So you do need some money. If you're going to buy a house, you've got to at least be able to come with some sort of a down payment or some contribution towards closing cost. Number 3, you need to know how to read the loan estimate. What is a loan estimate? Maybe we should start there. Well, a loan estimate is a sheet with all of the fees of the transaction, and you should be provided that up front. Here's my beef with my profession. So many loan officers are lazy and unprofessional, and they are not providing the borrowers this fee sheet. The reality is they don't want you to take it, understand it, and then go shop them against somebody else. They'd rather just give you something very high level and hope you don't ask and just move you right through the process. I show every one of my borrowers a loan estimate. In fact, most of the time, I make them a little video to go with it and walk them through it, and I send it to them in an email. And that way they can watch it a couple times until they're comfortable with it, and then we talk about it. But a loan estimate is going to show you category by category the fees that are incurred when you buy a home. It's going to start with the lender section so you can see what each lender charges because it's a little bit different. It's going to show you the things that you can't shop for but that are required. That would be an appraisal, a credit report, things of that nature. It'll show you any government or recording fees, and that could be at the local, the city, the county, even the state level. If those entities are going to charge you fees, they'll be on the loan estimate. It's also going to show you items you have to pay for up front, like homeowners insurance and interest. And then it's going to show you what the lender is going to collect in an escrow account. So that way, as time goes by, they can pay your property tax bill and your homeowners insurance on your behalf. It'll add everything up at the bottom. It'll show you your total fees. It'll show you any credits you're getting. And ultimately, it's going to show you your cash to close and your total monthly payment. You need to know how to read this form. It's not hard, but if you don't do it every day, it can be confusing. And the last thing I want to say here, which is really important, so pay attention, guys. What you need to really know is that the lowest interest rate is not always the best deal. Okay? Lowest interest rate is not always the best deal. So make sure that you get all of this explained to you and you know what you're signing up for. I hope you're trekking along fine with me. If you're starting to feel a little overwhelmed or have more questions, here's what you can do. Number one, drop me a question in the comments. I will personally respond to it. Number two, you can go into the video description and sign up for my weekly emails. I send out great mortgage advice every week. It only takes a few minutes to read, but they're tips that will help you become more educated in mortgages and get yourself in a better position to get a great mortgage. Or number three, I have a smart homebuyers guide that I put together. And if you want some more information and really dig deep into what this homebuyer process looks like, request that, get a copy of it, read through it, and then do the other things if you need to, okay? But I am here as a resource and I would love to help you, and I can help you in almost all of the states. So reach out. If I'm not licensed there, I'll point you in a good direction. Next, it really does matter what realtor you choose to represent you. And you need a great realtor. Not your neighbor, not your best friend, not your family member. Hopefully they are great realtors, but they may not be. So don't just automatically assume that because you know them and like them in life, that they're going to do a great job for you here. A great realtor needs to know how to negotiate a deal. They need to be non-emotional. They need to keep the highs low and the lows high. Okay, they need to operate right here in the middle for you. And they need to help you navigate this really, really emotional process. You're spending a lot of money. It can be stressful. Your emotions are going to get in the deal. A good realtor will keep his or her emotions out of it and help you negotiate and just really have your back during the whole time. I would ask questions like, how long have you been in the business? What kind of training have you been to? Tell me a little bit about how you're going to negotiate the best deal for me. What happens if the sellers start to get upset or don't want to accept an offer, right? So you want to ask them some of these types of questions, not just, well, how much does it cost to hire you? Or, sometimes people don't even know what to ask them, right? But we need to hone in on their skill set. Really, really important that they know how to negotiate a deal and they have a business sense about them. This next bit of advice you may hear in other parts of your life, and it's don't sweat the small stuff. And what I mean by that is once you get under contract, you're going to have a home inspection. And a home inspector is going to go in and they're going to check out that house from top to bottom, left to right. If there's a crawl space, they're probably going to get in it. If there's an attic, they're going to check that out too. They're going to turn on every faucet. They're going to flip every light switch. They're going to make sure everything is in proper working condition. Afterwards, you will get an inspection report. And here's the deal. You're going to be really tempted to say as a home buyer, well, they need to fix everything. I can't believe the condition of this house. I need them to fix this, and this. Well, pick your battles. Don't sweat the small stuff and pick your battles here. If there's a broken light switch plate, maybe a little scuff on the wall, guys, magic eraser, go down to the Home Depot or Lowe's, get a little plate. These things are a couple of dollar type fixes. What you want to do is you want to focus in on anything that's significant in that report and ask for those things to be repaired, replaced, or come to an agreement on maybe they'll give you some contribution towards closing cost, so then you'll have some extra cash after closing to go fix it on your own. A bigger thing that you could ask for repairs on might be an electric panel that's a little bit outdated or has some questionable wiring in it. Maybe there's some major wood rot going on. There could be a roofing issue. There's all kinds of things that can come up. Don't be afraid of that. It's normal, right? Even a brand new house has issues, but just pick your battles. Again, go back to the point I made before. Make sure you have a great realtor who can negotiate and doesn't get emotionally involved and can advise you here in the very best way. We've made it to tip 6. I want you to consider a smaller house. Do you really need a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a full basement on an acre, etc., etc., etc.? Do you really need it, right? A smaller home often comes with lower monthly expenses. You'll have much lower utility expenses and property taxes typically. Reevaluate your needs and see if you really need all of that. Did you know that your electric bill could easily exceed $300? Yeah, if you live in any kind of extreme temperatures, if you have a really cold winter or really hot summers and you're running the AC or the heater nonstop around the clock, you could easily get into the $300, $400, $500 electric bills. I see it happen all the time. And if you're not prepared for that, that can really break the bank, especially after you've bought this great house that you thought you needed that maybe pushed your budget a little bit on the high side. Get what you need, but make sure you know your needs versus your wants and take that into account if you're really looking to save some money. And finally, let's consider the long-term cost of the property you choose, specifically long-term maintenance, right? If you buy an older home, guess what? It's just a matter of time before you need to update an air conditioner, a heating system, maybe the electrical system's going to need to be updated, the roof, all kinds of things, plumbing. Oh my goodness, my husband and I bought a house one time and it was an older home. At the time, it was probably 30 years old, but you know what? It had sat for a couple years unoccupied. This was in Florida, and it had terracotta plumbing pipes under the house, like sewer lines, right? We had no idea the problem we were going to have. Here's what happened. We bought the house. We totally gutted it. We were happy to buy this house. We redid the floors. We redid the drywall. We repainted it, a new roof. I mean, you name it, we did it. We even ran new electric all through the walls and new plumbing inside the house. Well, the house was beautiful. It was a showstopper. And a few months in, we had folks over for dinner and we were having this really nice dinner party, and somebody went and used the hall bathroom and flushed the toilet. And I smelled sewer. We had a bar sink in the dining room, and stuff from the bathroom backed up and burst the pipe under my bar sink. And you know why? Because underground, the sewer line had completely disintegrated. Because no one had used that for a couple years, that terracotta pipe was completely dried up and brittle, and the bottom fell off of it. And so the plumbing was just, it was shot and nothing could drain properly. We had to move the dinner party. Fortunately, our friends lived about a mile down the road and everybody went down there while my husband and I stayed behind and literally cleaned up the mess. And we ended up having to file an insurance claim and dig a trench through our newly renovated home and redo the plumbing from both bathrooms out to the front of the house where it met with the city sewer. So older homes have a risk, and there are maintenance issues that are going to come up that you may never consider. Also, the amenities. Maybe you have a wood barn out back and it is like the shop. It is your dream come true. You got maybe an extra car that you like to work on, or all your tools out there. You're a woodworker. Awesome. But if it's truly a wood barn, you know that there's maintenance there, right? You're going to be redoing the sides and trying to keep that up over time so that way it looks nice and doesn't become a fire hazard or start falling apart with weathering over the years. So those are some examples. And we did talk about acreage and mowing, but what about if you have a bunch of trees on the property? Over time, you're going to have dead ones. You're going to have storms come through. So you really want to think about more than just, I love that house. It's so beautiful. Look at the kitchen. Oh, we'll have 2 extra bedrooms. You can have an office and I can have an office. Really think about this. By implementing some of these tips, you could save a lot of money and put it somewhere else that might make more financial sense. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.